out what's wrong with him, because I think some people just don't understand. Even among atheists, he's viewed as something to be feared. People that think Kent Hovind is a laughing stock will actually think twice about Craig purely because he just words it all the time. And I would have to prepare for a debate with him, and that's only because he will bog you down in philosophical nonsense. That's what
a sort of philosophical gish gallop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting point, just an interesting yes/no question for everyone on the panel. And then I will come back to you, Andy. I remembered the question that I was going to ask. Would you, if Craig contacted you and offered a debate, would you take it? And if so, what title would you find acceptable, agreeable? James.
That's tough. A lot of
a lot of these debates are, does God exist? But that kind of a title doesn't seem too constructive,
Yeah. A lot of people, when I make a Craig video, suggest that I debate him, and I really honestly don't think that I would take the offer, just because he is a brilliant rhetorician, and I'm probably not, at least not a practiced one. If I am, in fact, experience would show, and I know that I probably wouldn't represent my case as well as I could had I the time to take the time to think through the entirety of the argument. And hypothetically, if if this were to take place, I think the title that I would find the resolution that I would find acceptable would be is atheism justified? Because that doesn't seem to be a topic that I've seen him try to grapple with. He's tried to couch it in terms of, is atheism true? And I think that would be potentially more difficult to do than simply justified. I think that it's very easy to show that atheism would be justified even against someone like William Lane Craig.
Sure. Andy, what do you reckon? Would you take him up?
Yeah, I would. I think the problem that most people have in debating Craig is they go into it thinking they're going to have this sort of logical debate, this sort of scholarly debate, and that's really not what Craig is in it for. As James mentioned, Craig is a really great rhetorician, and one of the common sayings in rhetoric is there's no such thing as a logical fallacy except for the kind that you can't get away with. So that's essentially why Craig does that, and you kind of have to respond to that in the same rhetorical way, and it can be really difficult, and I think that's where people get tripped up. So to be honest, I don't even think the title really matters that much, as long as you can kind of frame it properly within the debate, which is what William Lane Craig does really well. So yeah, I definitely would take a debate with William Lane Craig, though I'd have to study up a lot.
Okay, and Triumph, would you take a debate?
Absolutely, I would jump at the chance. But yeah, I would have to study up, not even actually the topic. I would just watch as many of his debates as I could and find out all the stuff he's likely to say in an attempt to block the debate. And then just, because he rehearses what he says, that's a point of record, that he'll rehearse and pretty much word for word put his arguments out there. In much the same way, he's capable of anticipating anything I might say and put out a pre-rehearsed spiel against it. So I just need to be one step ahead and know what he's going to say. And because because as far as I can tell, I don't want to get hypocritical and say there's definitely no God, but as far as I can tell, he is wrong completely. His arguments are wrong, and I have the luxury of knowing that. Therefore, I can back him into a corner, and he will have to use some fallacy to get out of it, as he already has done. And even if he isn't going to allow that, for example, it was through Craig that I discovered Reformed epistemology, which I have a feeling actually, James, that Tom linked me to a video that you made addressing William Lane Craig on Reformed epistemology. It was a clip where he says that if you need an infinite regress of knowledge to explain everything, and that would destroy science. And you refuted that. Was that you?
Yeah, that was my video.
I thought it was an excellent refutation of that enormously stupid argument. And as soon as I discovered reform epistemology, I realised obviously that's what Craig holds to. I've never found a clip of him actually stating definitely that he's a reform epistemologist, but that's his stance. And he would flee to that kind of area. He would eventually have to say something like, "Well, it is logical to have faith in something without evidence," and then you just have to be prepared to just accept the fact that you're not going to win, because however philosophical and reasoned he tries to be, he is a devout Christian, which means his brain is broken.
Okay, and what title would you accept? Like a question for which one argues the affirmative and one the negative?
I think I wouldn't particularly mind if it's a fairly standard question of does God exist, or is there adequate proof of God, or any of those kind of hackneyed things, because whatever you argue, it's going to get back to the kind of core issues that William Lane Craig always talks about anyway. So I may as well just be, can you prove God, yes or no? Because it will bring up all the fallacies that he's used to. It will get straight into it. I'm not looking to make any original points because you can't against William Lane Craig. But I would happily debate him, even if it meant spending 48 hours ingesting every single word he's ever spoken first, which is a nauseating prospect.
Well, as you know, I would happily accept a debate with William Lane Craig. The only topic I would accept is there sufficient evidence to believe that there were in fact galaxies 10 billion years ago? Because as we all know, Craig doesn't believe there are. No, I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to be that pedantic. But I would like to debate Craig, actually. I think I would be sufficiently ready to stop him in the areas where he begins to appeal to sleight of logic and similar things. I think I've seen enough of Craig in action to know where he's going to go. And since every single appeal to authority could be pointed out as such, I think it would make it quite easy to cut through his argument to the core. So I would
just
like
make signs. Just make a sign for every possible fallacy he's going to make, like appeal to authority or whatever, and just hold up a sign.
Sure.
Shuffle through them and have cards for it.
Okay, now I'm going to have to get back to Andy because this was a promise that I made. I was talking to you, Andy, about the people who support Craig who come to your videos, and this does really apply to the whole panel here because we've all had the Craig fanboys at one time or another. And my question to you, Andy, is: do you think William Lane Craig's supporters do an adequate job from his perspective, or do you think he gets a really bad rap on YouTube?
I think they do pretty well from his perspective. He trains people. The whole idea of his ministry is to train people to have these sorts of arguments. If you ever go on Amazon.com and look up, you can preview like the workbooks for reasonable faith and that sort of thing. And the questions are essentially, what do you say to somebody if they raise this objection? And that's essentially what you get. The problem is, at least that I've noticed, is that people that kind of regurgitate those responses usually don't know really what they're talking about. So it's a lot easier to kind of cut through those people than it might be to cut through like Craig. But I think from his perspective, certainly they're doing well. They're going around, spouting all these kind of logical arguments. And most people don't really know much about, the Big Bang Theory or the fine-tuning of the universe, or have really any understanding of philosophy of morality. So with those people, I think it works really well. But if you kind of know those things, then obviously I don't think it does. But Craig isn't trying to